you the kind of person who enjoys solving the most complex problems? Do you want to collaborate with some of the best and brightest, people who make each other better every single day? Do you want to see your ideas put to the test in real time at lightning pace? Do you want the power to impact financial markets around the world? Do you want to work for a company that doesn't just facilitate growth, but turbocharges it? If the answer is yes to all of those, then Optiver is a company worth getting to know better, and you should definitely keep watching.
So Optiver started in the mid-80s, just on a trading floor in the Netherlands. Started with a couple of traders who really went in with the objective of what we call improving the markets.
Historically, Optiver has primarily been focused on market making. Our initial focus was on option market making, and now we market make across a variety of asset classes. Now we have 9 offices around the world with over 1,100 employees. In the US, we're headquartered in Chicago, and we're also in the process of building out an office in Austin.
In Chicago, we're currently sitting at 350 people. It's pretty unusual, but our US office is our smallest office. It's the biggest market opportunities, there's the most going on here. So it really just shows what a massive room there is for growth in the US. I remember when I first looked up the job for Optiver, it said proprietary market maker. The first thing I looked up was, well, what is proprietary? Proprietary just means that we're just trading with our own money. That means we don't have investors, we don't have to appease external clients. We're just all about improving and working for ourselves. So what is a market maker? Perhaps you can just think of a market maker as something like a supermarket. So a supermarket is buying enormous amounts of, say, fruit and vegetables from farmers, and it's selling them in small amounts to consumers like you and I. So a market maker is someone who is going to sit in there and find out what the price that you should be buying and selling to make those transactions happen as smoothly as possible. Ends up being pushed by supply and demand. So what should the price be? Well, if there are a lot of apples that are being supplied by the farmers, then perhaps the price of apples has to go down to be able to sell those apples to consumers. And conversely, if all of a sudden there aren't many apples, the price of apples is going to have to go up, just to make sure that you match all the buyers and the sellers in the market. So I think there are 2 major areas where what we do contributes to the functioning of the global economy. There's the constant competition to get the trades, which just means that the bid-ask spread and the price you actually have to pay to buy and sell things just gets driven down and down and down by the competition in the market. A market maker has a second main function, and that's just making sure it can provide liquidity at all times. So even when the market is under great stress, people are going to need to do trades. So it's a market maker's job to always be able to provide a price. So no matter what's going on in the world, a market maker will say, I will take your risk.
Optiver's mission is to improve the global financial markets. It's about making sure that those markets are fair and efficient and transparent for everyone who participates.
So I think the thing to realize here is the way the markets work impacts everyone, whether it's you're investing via your 401k or your grandparents have a pension fund or whatever it is. And the more efficient the markets are, the easier it is for whether it's individuals or large corporations or whatever it is to effectively and ideally cheaply execute the trades that they want to execute.
In addition to being smart, what's more important is that Optiver employees are collaborative, they're highly competitive, and everyone here enjoys solving very complex problems.
So over the last 20 years, there's been a large shift in the type of people that are working in this industry. Whereas it probably used to come more from the finance and accounting background, it's now shifted much more towards the science and the engineering background. Now, if I take one of my trading teams and have a look at who I have there, I can have an actuary, a physicist, a chemist, a mathematician, a computer scientist. Basically, we're looking at all of these scientific problem solvers to make the best team.
There is no set sort of academic background that we look for. We tend to look in STEM because we most often find people that fit that bill in there, but we have outliers outside of that don't expressly fit in, myself included, being an economics major.
So we're looking for individuals that have that kind of entrepreneurial spark or want to have that ownership and responsibility and kind of take things on themselves. Someone that's intellectually curious, someone that is thoughtful in the way they go about things, someone that's just generally has kind of a intellectual capacity to learn and grow and explore, and someone that's keen to solve problems. Obviously, we're a very competitive industry, so it helps to find people that have a bit of a competitive bone in their body. So I think the lines between engineering and trading get blurred, especially when you're starting to look at strategy or kind of how we develop the nuances and the various kind of specific elements of our trading strategy. Solving the trading problem is everyone's concern.
A background in trading or finance is definitely not required to start at Optiver. I, for example, came from a degree in IT. I did not study finance, and Optiver immediately brought me in and trained me, and I am still learning every single day about our business and the way that we operate. At Optiver, we have 3 different groupings of people. So we have our traders, we have our developers, and we have our IT ops function.
IT operations focus more on the purely technical infrastructure that's needed to get to the point where we can run those trading systems. So that might mean a presence in a variety of data centers that are co-located with the financial exchanges we trade on. It might mean networking equipment and sort of software to make sure all those things can communicate. It might also mean actually installing and running all of that trading system over time. So we can map some of our core business teams to sort of aspects of race car driving. So the traders sort of map most generally to the driver themselves, so they're the person behind the wheel. We could think of the dev team as sort of designing the car itself, the sort of piece of technology that we're using to compete and actually participate in the race itself. The IT operations team is sort of everything else that may not be obvious to sort of the outsiders, so that might be the sort of pit crew that is maintaining that car.
People that come into IT ops are sometimes from STEM backgrounds, and often roles require coding skills, but many other members of our group have a variety of different backgrounds.
We want people that sort of will take the work very seriously and pay attention to the very detailed elements that sort of are a part of making things very successful here. Yeah, people who are interested in and are good at sort of maintaining the well-oiled complex machine that is our trading system, and a lot sort of goes into that over time.
We are constantly looking for ways to improve our infrastructure and improve the use of it for our traders and our developers. Within IT ops, we group people into 3 categories. So the first group of roles is infrastructure engineers, the second is site reliability engineers, and the third is operational analysts. Our infrastructure engineers are responsible for maintaining and building the infrastructure that we rely on in our environment. So that includes things like servers, networking, hardware, as well as different software that we use in-house.
So our infrastructure engineers are, roughly speaking, organized around layers of our technical stack. So each team owns basically a layer. So we have a data center team sort of at the most physical layer that owns all of the physical hardware that we manage. Next up, we have the networking team, sort of moving vertically up the technical stack. So they own and make decisions on all the networking hardware and technology we use, as well as the topology and actually design of how we interconnect our systems. We have 2 systems engineering teams that we divide across operating system lines. So there is a Windows-focused team, and then there is a Linux-focused team. So at the top of our infrastructure engineering stack, there is the system support engineering team that owns the physical tech in this office, as well as a lot of the supporting sort of infrastructure for really biz ops in the office.
At Optiver, we also have site reliability engineers, and that includes our application engineer team and our DevOps engineer team.
The application engineering team is most closely associated with actually the production environment itself, that they manage all change that goes into the environment.
The application engineer team is very much that pit crew in action. So anytime an application falls down or has an issue, they are the first to respond and to work to make sure that application can start running again.
They're also the chief sort of builders, as we get new business cases that we need to build out. The application engineer is the one building extensions to our existing trading systems from the raw materials provided by other teams. The other half of SRE is the DevOps team, which is ostensibly a Python development team that's building tools for the other engineering teams. So the most critical of the systems that the DevOps team owns are our deployment and monitoring systems for production itself.
So, for example, when an application goes down, the DevOps team's tooling will provide alerts to the relevant team that gives them information into what has happened with our systems.
So alongside the infrastructure engineers and SRE, there is also several teams of operations analysts.
Operational analysts supplement the trading, development, and other operational teams by performing tasks like incident management, serving as gatekeepers for change management, and other types of macro-level project management.
They're covering a space that is sort of parallel to the chiefly engineering work that the rest of the IT operations group is doing. So some of that is sort of informational in nature, that the technical operations team manages all of the sort of planning and coordination involved in doing the high count of changes that we do as an office, making sure cross-team projects are running smoothly from an interconnectedness point of view and tracking.
The training program starts with a 6-week course, and that course covers both options theory and a tech boot camp, so to say, that teaches you about our internal systems. After you complete that 6-week course, which includes trainings from all of our development leads as well as operational and trading leads, you move on to work with your team, and much of your learning after that is very much on the job.
Long-term, most of the IT operations group's training is apprentice and mentorship based. A lot of what we do training-wise is just match people's abilities with the right difficulty and sort of complexity of project and task, and slowly scale them up over time with sort of the backing of the senior mentors to make sure they're being successful with that growth.
We believe that collaboration with your peers is the most important way for you to learn. A career in IT ops is incredible, first off because it gives you variety. Because you're supporting our internal systems and operations, you have no idea what's going to happen when you come into work each day. And that's incredibly exciting, especially if you're a problem solver and someone who likes to take quick action to make things better.
So that ownership is another key draw, that given the way we've organized the teams, that there is just very clear ownership of individual pieces of our architecture and infrastructure.
So whether you are given a project or whether you create one yourself because you've noticed an inefficiency, you have the autonomy to take ownership of that and bring it through to its solution.
Both that variety and ownership, I think, combine to make for a very sort of quick growth path for most people.
As you take on more and more projects, even though you have the autonomy to see those through on your own and working with whoever you need to, you're also supported by your teammates and by the rest of the teams within IT Ops. And that allows you to not only grow as an employee, but take on more and more responsibilities while having the support you need to do so.
I think behind that we have a skilled and sort of responsible set of mentors, the senior people in the group sort of understand that the future of getting more output out of the group and being able to scale up is mostly people oriented. So.
You can think of Optiver like a sports team. So take basketball, for instance. The best basketball team has someone who knows how to rebound the ball, has someone, or hopefully a lot of people who know how to pass the ball, some people who can shoot the ball, but overall, it's a collection of people who work very well together and have complementary skill sets. I very much view trading in the same way.
Consider us sort of the equivalent of a pro sort of football team or sports team, that we are looking for world-class people in all of these specific endeavors, but everybody's also playing their part, knowing that really it's the engine firing on all cylinders that helps us succeed over time.
I think the key thing that we focused on over the years is to develop kind of a unique culture that focuses on this inward collaboration and outward competition.
So while teams are not necessarily competing against each other, they are always competing against this ideal goal and aiming to achieve that and be the best at what we do in every single way.
Whether you've been here a year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, there's a lot of things at each of those phases in your career you can be doing to add to the team, to add to our ability to compete externally in the financial markets.
I think the thing that defines the most successful people at Optiver are the people who realize they can take as much responsibility as they think they can handle. It's nothing for a 1-year person or a 1.5-year person to be calling meetings and driving new initiatives. Because in the end, it's about having a good idea, getting buy-in from people, and pushing it forward yourself. So if you go to any company's website and you look under their values or what their culture stands for, they will all put teamwork and collaboration. So at Optiver though, we try to make it a really first-class value. The biggest driver to everyone's compensation at Optiver is the profits of Optiver. So we are incentivizing everyone to not just look after themselves or do their own thing, we're incentivizing everyone to try to improve the whole firm. The people who do best at Optiver are the people who think, how can I improve the floor? Or how is what I'm working on going to improve another desk?
So in essence, we're trying to give individuals the upside of the firm's performance. So if the firm does amazingly, we want individuals to have a share of that. So if the firm has, a 2x, 3x, 4x performance a given year, you know what that means for your individual remuneration or what that means for your bottom line.
I think when you look at our results, we're number one in almost everything we trade. We do that by constantly focusing on improving. Every single year we look at how we did in the previous year, and the next year's goal is to do better.
So our interview process has 4 stages. Someone applies, at which point their resume meets the eyes of a hiring manager who actually is familiar with the role and knows what they're looking for. Past that, we have a technical assessment, which is done online. It varies a bit by role, but for most of the IT operations roles, it's so Python and SQL, it's coding, so it is sort of getting a general gauge of technical skill. After that, there is a phone screen with a recruiter to get a general sense of who the person is and give them a general sense of what Optiver is and who we are. And then there is an on-site, or at least remote equivalent of a multi-stage in-person live interview with various people on the team and hiring managers themselves.
The process moves very quickly, which is nice, so candidates can get through the process within 2 or 3 weeks.
In the end, Optiver wants you to be as successful as possible. And part of that can be like helping you out with things, and we have lunches, and we have a coffee bar, you can do international trips to other offices. In the end, all of those things add up to a nice workforce. So an important part about any job is the people you work with and enjoying your time with them.
Socially, there's always a lot going on. There are always sports activities going on after work, whether that's soccer, basketball, tennis. There are trivia leagues that people are involved in after work. I've been in a trivia league since I started here at Optiver. Optiver also puts on lots of different events throughout the year. Most people's favorite is probably Optiver Weekend, which is in the fall, and we all go to some location for a weekend to get to know each other better and improve our team building skills.
Yeah, in the summer we provide housing for interns. We have a chock-full calendar of all sorts of events to try to get interns to learn about Chicago and learn about what it means to live here and kind of what life might look like here, joining as your first-time professional career.
So at Optiver, I think work-life balance is pretty well guided by sort of people's own appetite.
So, the goal is people are in the office, they're excited about being here, we're not forcing anyone, we're not twisting anyone's hand.
Our opinion is that it's really up to people to set their own barometer there of how much they want to be sort of putting into sort of the work at hand. That knowing that there really is backing to sort of step back and guard their own sort of mental well-being and everything else. That there are people that will work on a project on the weekend that's of their own doing. but there are also people that come in sort of during their usual business hours and come and go, and both of those are sort of acceptable for us here. We want to make sure people are going above and beyond and having an impact on the sort of core business operation and increasing profits, that we reward them for that, and they're free to do that. At the same time, that's not a core expectation that everybody has to do.
And I think the goal of all of these is just to reinforce the overall culture, this culture of people interacting with each other, this culture of people feeling bought into the company, this culture of people feeling like the company cares about the individuals, and the individuals are incentivized to kind of care about the well-being of the company, because we're all kind of part of this thing together.
So when I was in your guys' shoes and I was looking for work, the thing that I really wanted to make sure that I didn't have was monotony, boredom, following a process, rigid hierarchy structures. Now at Optiver, we don't have any of that. The job's very exciting. You'll get as much responsibility as you can take. You will never have Monday-itis. Every Monday you're going to wake up and say, oh wow, I've got all this stuff to work on.
As a new grad, you will without a doubt learn more in the first 12 months working at Optiver than you did in your 4 years or however long it took you to finish your last degree. You're going to be excited to wake up every morning and continue on that journey, to see what the day holds, to see what kind of cool new things you're going to get to do and to learn, and the types of ways you're going to be challenged.
There's something incredibly fulfilling about pushing yourself and pushing the people around you to be the best that you can be in your industry, and that is something I look forward to every day. There is truly never a boring day at Optiver.
So at Optiver, we're only as good as our rate of improvement. And the way you get the fastest improvement is to get the best people in the door. So we're always looking for inquisitive, hungry problem solvers to join our team.
We have a long track record of growth, of improvement. So you're getting to come in with this kind of entrepreneurial opportunity into a place where you're going to be backed by, 3 decades worth of success, 3 decades of experience. So I think it's a very unique combination of essentially unlimited upside and also a ton of support and a ton of backing to accomplish the types of goals that we're all looking to accomplish.
There's no, oh, we're number one, that's good enough. It's always, we're number one, we measure ourselves and we try to get better.